And now we'll move on to the third and final section, the soul of our message. It is important that we know our audience. Who are we speaking to? And there's two ways to do this. We can have a very sympathetic approach and feel about them, to think about what they're going through and what they've gone through to this point and feel for them. Or we can use an empathetic approach and feel with them. Well, for the most part in leadership training, empathy is the best thing because we generally go through the same things that our audience or our classes has gone through. So it is something that can be very versatile. It can be very much an emphasis to ensure the seriousness of your message. If you can display some empathy toward the people, make reference to some events where you share their feelings, you share their misgivings. You have been there, done that, as they are anticipating within their career. And it will make it a lot easier for you to make a really good connection with the soul or with the audience of your presentation. Some of the other logistics, one of the things that can be very much a good thing and can also be very much a bad thing, and that is simply the podium. As we get over here, the podium is simply a tool. Be prepared to use it in an appropriate way. You don't drive nails with screwdrivers. It's just not going to work. The podium is simply a note holder. It's not something to hide behind. It's not something to lean on. It's not something that we can take advantage of and slouch and relax and take some of the load off as we move this. It is simply a note holder. Unless you're in a situation where you need to have amplification the entire time, a lot of times the podium can simply be a note holder, but in the course of a speech, maybe you should pick up your notes and can hold and roam and make a little bit more of a connection with people. One of the greatest things to do, if you're able to do this within your situation, is to approach the crowd. As you move into them, you can get a little bit closer to them, but you've got to be careful. Don't get in their space. People tend to get a little uncomfortable about that. Don't lean, don't hide. Use this podium as something to benefit you as you move through. As we move to wrap up, we've got a little bit of a review here. We look at the idea of what are we going to do when we present. Well, first of all, we're going to speak. High, low, fast, slow, emphasis, loud, soft, different ways to speak in ways. Once you speak, you need to make sure that you hear. There's going to be questions. There's going to be comments. Be an active listener. Nod, acceptance, maybe even repeat to make sure the people in the back of the room hear what the person on the front row commented. To repeat these things and respond. Many times people will want a response and answer from you, which it can be easy to give. Sometimes it might be an inappropriate time to discuss that, at which time feel completely free to say, why don't we talk about that later? Or certainly, I'll be addressing that later in the presentation. Or sometimes it might be needed that you say, let's talk about that at break or maybe even after the presentation and I will visit with you. That is a response. You haven't dismissed the individual. You can give them value that you do want to help them, but you can move on with your presentation. You also have to be prepared to adapt. How many times can something go wrong? Be it technical, be it too hot, too cold, people late, not enough books, your computer crashing, any number of things, but we do need to be prepared to adapt and go to different means in order to make this presentations. Or, as the saying goes, if you don't adapt, be prepared to die. And you certainly don't want the investment you've had in preparation, the investment your friends have made in situations to be prepared to be at this meeting, to go down the drain because of some of these things that go wrong. To review, I'd like to encourage you to stand up, to be proud, to be earnest, to be empathetic, to speak up, to be loud, to be soft, to be slow, to be varied enough to get people's interest, and then eventually and quickly to shut up. Just remember that for a message to be immortal, it does not have to be eternal. Know when to stop and move on. So remember, stand up, speak up, say thank you, and shut up. Thank you very much.